Hi everyone, I'm so happy that you're here to join me for the Way of the Animal podcast. For today's podcast, I wanted to talk a bit about introducing new animals into your life and getting to know new animals in your life, because we have a new puppy in our life. So it was very poignant and I'm just reliving it from the many times we've done it before. So currently we have 6 dogs, ranging from the age of 10 to 15. So it's a much older pack of dogs, and introducing a puppy can be quite hard on them. So it was quite interesting to see how that went. And just talking a bit about the behaviours I've noticed and sort of the things that we've learned in how we introduce animals and things to our lives and to our pack and things, and just like the way we go about it. And we've done it many times. Because we had so many working dogs, working with the sheepdogs in Scotland, we constantly seemed to be getting new puppies, and even had a litter of puppies of our own, because we were always needing new dogs coming through and learning, because they take so long to train to the point where they're ready to be trusted in their work and happy and comfortable and relied upon. So when our older dogs got older, we tended to get a younger dog to start and getting a puppy and start them getting going. And we preferred to get a puppy because then we're not undoing anyone else's, and we enjoyed learning the partnership of getting a puppy and working them through to their final working stage, however that is. It's been an interesting process, and it's interesting because, we have an end goal where we would like the puppy to be a good working dog if they can be. And doing that without putting pressure on them and allowing them to be who they are and show who they are and show where their talents lie, and then utilising that within them. So each dog that we've had has been talented in a different way with working the sheep, and it's been really interesting journey training them with that. And now we've moved on to just cattle. So the new puppy we have is a Huntaway, which is a New Zealand herding dog. So before, we've always had border collies, and we've got a German short-haired pointer who we trained as a gun dog. And so the New Zealand Huntaway is a dog that's designed to bark to help round up, and it works like the collie. It goes away and come by to the right side and the left side, and will go round and bring animals together and move them about, but they use their bark as their way. So whereas the collie use their presence and their eye and their sort of stalking, the Huntaway uses its bark to get them moving. And actually, my youngest dog, who is 12, has been, I've always taught her to bark because we used to work in the hills. Mainly it would be, we'd stop at a point on the hill and bark, and I would whistle loudly, and it was just to get any sheep that were hiding in any crevices or hiding about. It would get them moving, and then we'd be able to see them and pick them up and move them forward. So she's actually trained to bark, and she's been very useful with the cattle, even just having her on the back of the quad bike and barking on command. So we knew that something different might be more suitable. So here we are with a Huntaway puppy, and he's been quite a journey to get, but he's here now, and he's an absolute joy. He's had a really interesting upbringing in that he lived outside with all his brothers and sisters, a big litter of puppies. And so he's experienced a lot of outside life and entertaining himself, and his mum and his dad were there with him. So he'd learned, no from other dogs, which is really important in their education, because when another dog's taught them no, it's easier for us to teach them no. So yeah, he arrived at the weekend and he's been settling in, and something that we've always done with puppies when they come is we have like our rules and boundaries. We have the things that they're allowed to do and they're not allowed to do. And it's very, very simple. It's black and white. So when they first arrive, there's no settling in time where they can get away with things and then we introduce the rules. It's immediate that they have to learn, like, no, you can't do that, and yes, you can do that. So one of the ways that we do that is if they're doing something we don't want them to do. So, for example, he tried to pick up my charger for my laptop wire when it was on the coffee table, because it was down on the floor and he thought maybe it was his. So it's like, no. So then I went and grabbed him a toy and gave him the toy. So he ran off with the toy to play with instead. So it's like, we always do this. No, I don't want you to do this, but you can do this. So you give them a more positive choice of doing what he wants to do. So yeah, it's just knowing the rules that we had. And, it's been 10 years since we've had a puppy, but it's very easy to settle back into helping them understand what the rules are with us. So like I said before, his mother and father lived with them. So the puppies had learned what no and, back away from me, give me space is. So with our dogs, he was very respectful when they would, show him that they didn't want him in his face. Like puppies are, he's trying to lick under their chin, which is a very submissive thing, but that can be too much in their personal space. So our dogs would, twitch the lip a bit or show the teeth, and he'd very quickly back away, or sometimes they'd have to growl a bit, and yeah, he knew to back away, got a bit too close. And interestingly, this morning, because he's been getting more confident, he's been ignoring the subtle signs a little bit more and pushing it a little bit more. So he got a bit more of a telling, which gave him a bit of a fright, but he soon settled down again. And it's just knowing how to support him in that. So he got a fright, and that was the way it was, but we just support him to come down from that and feel like he's not alone in his scared way. And then, yeah, as puppies and children are, he was over it within minutes and up to mischief again, It's been really interesting watching the real subtleties of communication, with our dogs, seeing them go still and stiff, which is quite often a sign that they're sort of not happy with something that's going on, and that stiffness is precursor to them saying, hey, that's enough. And just watching, because we've always allowed our dogs to express themselves. It's really nice seeing how, minute the expressions can be, and how Callan, which is the name of the puppy, how he is learning to respond to that. He's learning to see it and read it. And it's so nice having our own pack of dogs, so he can learn how to be around dogs in I would say a controlled way, because we can, stop our dogs from going too far if they decided to or anything like that. It's much easier than when you're doing it when they're going to meet other dogs, and you kind of want them to meet the right type of dogs, because if there's dogs that are too heavy-handed immediately, it can cause them to be more fearful of other dogs instead of learning to understand the subtleties. So it's really nice that our dogs are showing that subtlety in behavior, the stiffness, the little lip curls, the starey eyes, all the little things. And he is learning those subtleties to, oops, I should back away. And then if he doesn't respond to those subtleties, our dogs just slowly ramp them up. And like I said, to the point this morning where he got a bit of a telling, which is where, he got pushed off his feet onto his side and just was told that's enough. And that obviously, it frightened him and he moved away, but it didn't stop him from wanting to approach any of the other dogs. He was just a lot more respectful when he did it. So I find it sometimes a bit stressful, because it's just probably why I'm glad I don't have kids, because you just want them to be happy all the time, and you don't want them to, feel scared or get in trouble. But actually with the puppies, and with humans too, I presume, but I know animals better, with puppies, it's really good for them to have their nervous system triggered by something that's fearful and then come back down. And that creates a much more resilient animal, a much more resilient dog, because they're able to have that fear response and come back down much faster. And then it means that when they get frights, they don't get stuck in that fight or flight and just run or whatever. They actually learn to, oh, that was scary. Oh, I'm okay. And what's next, you know? So it really, we can see that he has had that kind of upbringing where he's had frights, things have happened, and he's learning to regulate his own nervous system because he's able to come back down from whatever has scared him. So it's knowing all these little nuances, all these little things that helps bring up a very strong, confident and resilient dog, and knowing how you can help them to have that. So that's why, like a puppy that's brought up in a litter where the person who's bred them, the person that has them, has an idea of that sort of thing. So obviously he hasn't had the official, upbringing that I know is very, very useful, but he has had the upbringing where he has had experiences that have helped him with that. So I'm thinking of, there's a lot of things now with puppies is introduce them to scary things. So have and I don't mean scary, like you don't want to freak them out, but it's like have noisy things that they can walk over and explore when they're young, let them see new sights, new sounds, and get used to things. So again, it's like you're triggering the nervous system, then they come back down from it. It's all about creating that resiliency to what they're experiencing. And I mean, it's the same with any animal, to be honest with you, is because naturally in the wild, they would have that kind of thing going on, where a wild pack of coyotes, say, there's, a bear comes past the coyotes would perhaps bark and all the pups would go and hide, and it's about learning about that. And that's something we've noticed as well, because obviously they were just running about in the yard and up to whatever they wanted to. When our dogs bark, he goes and hides. So that's been interesting. So he's obviously learnt that that's the safe thing to do, which great, because he goes and hides in the house. He knows where his safe zone is already. A few days in, he knows to run back to the house is where to go if he's scared. So that's a really good sign that he feels safe within our house. So, it's about creating a safe space for him where he feels where he's safe. And it's been interesting when he feels a little bit nervous about things. So like I said, he's been brought up a lot outside. Music, when I play music, that's a new experience for him. So he's been sort of, intrigued, what's that? And I notice then he'll look at the other dogs. Are you reacting to that? Is that something that I need to be worried about? And then you'll see that they're, they don't even notice it. And just be like, okay, we're good. So it's really nice, because that's also a sign that he feels like his safety is within his pack of old dogs here, and he is looking to see if they get worried about things, and then seeing that they're not and going, okay, so I'm safe. So it's really nice to know already that he feels safe in our house, safe with our dogs, safe with us, and that's the initial goal, is when they feel safe with you and you're the point of safety and help for them when things are difficult, then things like when they get frightened and you're out or whatever, they will come back to you. And that's like so important. He's actually, we've done he's been on the lead a bit, but honestly, most of the time he's off the lead because he's just running with our pack. He comes back when he's called. So, and we're lucky enough that we're just living on the ranch. So we're just walking out in fields. So he's just allowed that freedom. But we also know how important it is to train him to understand being on the lead, and understand what that means and how to walk with the lead and how to feel confident with it. You know, it's all important learning for him, but it's you know, having the freedom to have him off the lead and explore in his own natural way is really nice too. And he's desperate to try and play with our dogs, but they're still not quite at that stage. There's a couple, I think, that will eventually have a wee game with him, but for now, they're not so keen. Oh yeah, that's something else I was going to talk about. So what's really interesting is with people is when they see puppies, they have this habit of wanting to be all in their face and snuggling and cuddling with them. And something that I think is so important is to have a look at how respectful we're being of them. So we kind of expect a sort of manner of respect, as in, I don't want to get bitten, thank you. I don't want to be eaten by puppy teeth, and I don't want them chewing on my clothes, because that's not good habits to encourage. So when he's doing that, you know, I'll give him something else to chew on, or distract him with something else, you know, so that it doesn't become habit, trying to chew and eat my clothes or chew on me. But yeah, what I was saying was being respectful with him as well, as I'm not just going and picking him up and making him have big cuddles. When he comes over and he wants to speak to me, he comes and he gets spoken to, and if he's on the floor, I'll pick him up so he can be on the sofa with me and have a cuddle. But I'm not always in his face, and I notice that when some people meet puppies, can be very forward and in their face. And that can be a very disrespectful thing. I'm pretty sure that when you meet new people, you don't want them to be in your face going, hello, you know, if you meet that sort of person that are in your personal space, it's not very pleasant. And I don't think it helps them to understand humans and human interactions very well. And it's not a very balanced way of being. And that's what we're trying to help him, is understand the balance of how he's being. So I don't know. That was an important point I wanted to make. Yeah, so it's a part of having, you know, taking a puppy away from their situation they've been in, however they've been kept in there when they've been bred or whatever. And it goes so far as, you know, even an older dog, you know, they have routines and things that they're used to, and then you take them and put them in a different environment, your environment, with different routines, with different rules. And I think it's so important to understand what a big change it is for them, and to give them the support that they need at that time to feel comfortable in that situation. So just like allowing them what they need. And I'm not saying I don't feel like you should just let them get away with everything, even though you don't like what they're doing. I'm a true believer, and it's something that I just happened to read the right book before we got our first dogs. And that was black and white with the rules. They can get grey as they get older. And it's definitely like our old dogs, it's very grey a lot of the time, but it's black and white with the puppy, because it's partly their safety, partly safety of our own stuff, you know. So obviously no chewing stuff that isn't his to chew, like the toys and things are his, and then anything else isn't his to chew. But to approach that understanding in a way that, okay, so he wants to chew. Well, I don't want to chew my thing, so give him something that he can chew that's his. And then perhaps next time, instead of trying to chew my thing, he'll choose to go and find the thing that's his to chew, if that makes sense. And I noticed that very quickly he's learned to eat. So he'd never seen toys before, because, again, like I said, the litter had been outside and living in that way. But now we've got this toy box, and he just brings we've got raised beds. He gets on one of the raised beds and he starts bringing all the toys up on the bed, and then sits there and chews all the different ones and enjoys just playing with them himself. So it's just what I'm trying to say is just have a real understanding of what it's like to have an animal taken from the situation that they're in, that they're used to, and into a completely different environment situation. And being who I am highly sensitive to that, because honestly, you take me out of my home and put me anywhere else, and I can feel pretty uncomfortable. So I have a lot of empathy for what he's going through. And he's used to sleeping with his litter mates, and unfortunately none of our dogs at the moment will let him snuggle with them, even though he's tried everyone and he's really wants to snuggle with them. They're not up for that yet. There's just not that kind of relationship with him, and I do feel like some of them will enjoy snuggling with him, but for just now they are not ready for that, and I think it will come. So it's understanding that he's seeking warmth and the comfort of his other litter mates. So things that we can do is put like a hot water bottle in his overnight bed. So that's something that we've always done, is crate trained our dogs. And it's always just at the start of their life, they get crate trained, so they tend to sleep in it at night. And at the moment as well, if he goes to work with Alistair, he has a crate in the truck, so he can't chew anything in the truck. And he'll go on that as well. And just so that he can understand that that's kind of quiet time and he's just to relax. And there's always chews for him to chew on in there to occupy him. But crate training to us is so important, and I'm so pleased I did it, especially for flying our dogs over here, because obviously they were in crates to fly, and they're so used to being in crates as they were puppies and when they were traveling, that it wasn't such a big thing to shut them in a small space. And I think that a dog, whatever happens, sometimes they end up at the vets. And whether you travel them in crates or not, sometimes they end up at the vets, and in the vets, they're put in crates when they are recovering from anything, or if they're sick and they need to be kept in for intensive care, they're always put in crates. And I feel like if they are used to that experience of being confined, then it is one less thing that is going to worry them in that situation. So I won't leave him for hours and hours in a crate in the house, all day in a crate. That's not something that I feel is right. But we use them for when he is ready to sleep, and we use them at night time until he's older, so that we know that A, he's not getting up to mischief when we're sleeping, and B, so he learns that nighttime is sleep time. So he learns just that that's the inactive time of his day, and that's when he's to catch up with his sleep. And we always have the crate in the bedroom when they're puppies, and adults if you had it that way, because it's natural for them to sleep with you. It's natural for them to be together with their pack when they sleep. So having a puppy in a crate in a different room, you can do it if you want. And we did it, but we had two brothers at once, and that's when they slept in a different room. But now I feel like I would always have the crates in the bedroom with me, because that's where they used to be. And it also means if they kind of wake up and are a bit whiny in the night, you can just comfort them with your voice and things. So it's just understanding naturally how dogs and puppies would be, and helping to support them by using that understanding. So, knowing that the puppies, the whole pack of puppies that you brought up have always slept together. So for him to sleep, and it's almost a little bit hard, him sleeping in the crate, because he still feels a little bit on his own, but he's in the same room as us with other dogs that sleep in our room. We have dogs that sleep in our bedroom. Not on the bed, but in the bedroom. So that, and then we have the bedroom door open. We have a couple of dogs that prefer their own space and sleep out with the bedroom, but that's their choice, and when he's older, he can have that choice. He can sleep in the bedroom with us, or he can go and sleep somewhere else in the house. But that's just how we do it, and it's each to their own. But I feel as long as you're respecting the animal that's living with you and understanding what helps them to feel secure and safe and like they are part of the pack and the family, then you can't go wrong, if that makes sense. It's just understanding what works for you. And I'm not saying that it's bad for dogs to sleep in a different room from you. It's about how you set out to have the dogs and how they understand it. And I don't think that it's detrimental to them to sleep in a different room, especially if you've got 2 or 3 that are together. So they're still sleeping together, just not with you. That's great. If they sleep on their own in another room and they're happy with it, well, that's great. But if you're struggling with a puppy who's struggling to settle overnight when you first get it, try sleeping in the room with you. And then you can always, as they get more settled and more confident, more happy, they can start sleeping in a different room in their crate. It's just about helping support them when they first come, but not in a way where you're letting them get away with everything, It's that support builds the connection and the relationship and the trust in you, because that's what he's learning, is trusting us to be his guardians, to be his carer, to be the person who he comes to when he is scared and worried. Because when you have that trust, then anything goes wrong, they're going to come to you and not run away from you. And I feel like that's so important, because what is priority when you have a new animal in your life is building that deep connection together, of building that trust, of building the learning in each other and getting to know each other. And that relationship is the foundation to whatever you do with your animal in the future. And that doesn't mean just puppies, like kittens, horses, whatever animal you have in your life. Building that relationship of trust and connection through empathizing, through understanding, through knowing how it is naturally for that animal to be, and allowing that to happen for them in the most natural way you can do in our environment, is just the best thing that you can do, and it's the best start. And like I said, so at the moment we are building a foundation with Callum, the puppy. We're building this foundation of him trusting us and him learning that we teach him the ways of the world, and he is our family now, and he can trust us and the dogs around him to help support him. Anyway, I rambled on way longer than I thought I would about this, and I don't know, it's just been a really interesting few days. I'm loving seeing all the behavior, the communication, the connections, and yeah, I forgot how much fun it is to have that sponge of a puppy who can learn new things so fast, and how much fun they can be. So I hope you found this interesting. It's what's been going on in my life, and I thought it'd be interesting to share, how we've been starting with puppies, and we will be done it for a long time. But I think you can replace the word puppy with dog, as in a rescue dog, or horse, or cat, or kitten. I feel like it's all the same principles, and obviously slightly different for like the horses because of the pre-animal side of it. But there's still, like, the foundation is trust, relationship, connection, creating that balance between you, creating that time where you have that connection, and not being disrespectful in how you're approaching this new animal in your life, to, even though they're cute and cuddly, or they're so exciting to have a new animal to be with, is to just measure and listen to who you're being, and be in a balanced, easy way for them to be around, and you'll create that relationship of trust, which is just the foundation and the most important thing that you can do with your animals at any stage. So thank you very much for listening to my ramblings on Callan the puppy.